78% of Black husbands were in their homes, married to the mother of their children, when they started the social engineering of the welfare state. Fast forward 50 years, 78% of Black children are being raised in single-headed households. This is destruction persona.
I go, the welfare department came to our home. They talked with my mother about moving into the housing project, but the stipulation was that my father could not be with us. They would put us into the housing project only if he left the state.
Fathers are often driven away so that mother and children can eat.
85% of the head of household is a woman, because most of the men who should be in the household, they cannot make a decent living. And of course it is better to know that a child will be fed 12 months out of the year than 3 months, which during the summer when construction work you can make a decent living.
The man in the house rule was written to prevent welfare cheating, to make sure that aid to families with dependent children would go only to families headed by mothers. But the effect of the man in the house rule is to create for children an atmosphere of investigation and surveillance. And thus, the welfare system in its operation turns out to be a system to make life harder for children.
The welfare system helps the disintegration of the American family. It offers money to families if the fathers will leave them and stay away, in that sense undoing the very stability of the family and taking away one of the two parents the children, of course, need. And what I have seen, I'm afraid to say, all over the country is that the legal system works against the best kind of home for these children. We don't encourage parents to be at home with the children. We don't encourage mothers to feel that they can find their destiny as mothers. We take away, in many of the most vulnerable homes, fathers from those homes. We herd foster children together in institutions rather than trying to find decent homes for them. We don't tap the resources we have in communities and with respect to older people so that they can help out vulnerable homes. We don't sanction and encourage and support in every way, morally, psychologically, and financially, the dignity and integrity of the home. And in the worst of it is that the homes that are most vulnerable are the homes that are least supported by the policies of local, state, and federal governments. And no wonder then, out of these more vulnerable neighborhoods, we get an endless cycle of troubled, delinquent, wayward youth who grow up even more and become the lawbreakers of our society. Now, I don't know how you break this cycle except by starting out with young children.
Ladies, I have a question. How many of you got rid of your child's father because you wanted to be on welfare? Or, if your father was absent, how many of your mothers got rid of him because she wanted to be on welfare? I'm trying to see something. 78%.
Wow, man, wow. This wasn't nothing new to me for sure, but it definitely just it kind of brought it back to light for me for sure. It kind of brought it back to the light as far as divide and conquer, man. It's always been the strategy of the powers that be, whoever they may be. That's always what it has been, man. They want black against white. They want male against female. They want young against old. They like that, right? Because it's easier to control any group of people if you have them divided. And I think that was a lot of the reason of why the father had to be gone if you wanted to take advantage of welfare, right? I would like to see an argument for the people who made welfare to, like, what would they have to say against that for the reasons why they made it so the man had to be out the house. And you got to think, right? It's a black issue, but it's not only a black issue. We weren't the only people taking advantage of like project housing. That's why like a white guy was on here talking about it, right? And as far as the effects of this, man, I've seen it. I have more friends who didn't have their father in the home than friends who did have a father. Me, I was lucky enough for at least the first 12, 13 years of my life before my father passed to have him in the house to instill certain things in me. Like, yeah, it was times where he definitely could have guided me in the right direction in my later teenage years, because I did start to fall into certain things that I shouldn't be doing and things that I know I wouldn't have been doing if he was around, right? So I definitely seeing it, right? But one thing about me to where I'm very grateful for, it didn't affect me in the emotional aspect, because I know a lot of guys who never had a father that they have the emotions and they act like a woman, right? Like when we see these guys getting overly aggressive, yelling at women, yelling at men, being or just being so easy to trigger and reacting emotionally. These are feminine traits, right? These are feminine traits. I made a whole video about feminine traits that I see in a lot of men these days, and a lot of it is because if you are only raised by a woman and you got your aunties and all of them, your grandmas, all of them around you all the time, nobody around you to show you how to be as a man, then yeah, you're gonna pick up those traits, man. You're just gonna do it. You're gonna pick up those traits. I seen it in a lot of guys, man. A lot of guys, and it's only more prevalent when we look at like the generation that's coming up after me. I'm 28 years old now. We got Gen Z and Generation Beta. Like it's even more prevalent, right? And it manifests itself in multiple ways. Some guys end up zesty. Some guys end up more so just dangerous, right? Just dangerous, and or being a criminal, right? Because the thing about it is, feminine energy in a woman is one thing, and feminine energy in a man, or too much feminine energy in a man, is dangerous, because women are chaotic by nature, but when you take that and you put it in a man, and the strength of a man and how like destructive a man can actually be, that's why it's dangerous for a man to move in a way that a woman does, just kind of reacting off emotions, because a man, he can fuck some shit up. And that's why we need guys and masculine men to teach men, like, no, masculinity doesn't look like being angry and being mad somebody looked at you and popping off just because someone bumped into you or something like that. No, being masculine is being stoic. It's moving through the world with love and kindness. It's being understanding of other people. It's not being a pushover, but it's also knowing when to be dangerous. You got to be a controlled monster as a man. But yeah, man, back to like just welfare. I think it did mess a lot of people up. I think a part of that though was it was only supposed to be a temporary thing, man. It was only supposed to be a temporary thing. You get in, get your stuff together and get off it. But a lot of people, it's become like a generational thing to where you got people, girls 18, 19 in the project housing, and their great grandma was in that same project. So it's a generational thing. As far as solutions, it's more so someone taking that step to say like, nah, I'm gonna do something different. That's the only way you can kind of change things for your family. But let me know what you guys think about this. As always, love y'all. I'm out.